We are quite excited to be a part of this and tell you something about our experience. Martin said something about bringing our normal to the Channel Island, and this is something I will tell you something about. I am the network director for something called the Norwegian Tunneling Network. This is an organization that consists of universities, research organizations, advisory companies, experts, construction companies, but also product and service suppliers. But this network also have a very close connection to the public offices. So this means the road authority, the rail authorities in Norway is part of our work. And when we are going abroad, we also bring the government with us. So that means that we have the Team Norway, and the Team Norway is also funding our activities abroad. So when we are going out and telling about experiences and our competence and how we can assist in different countries, we have Innovation Norway with us. We have an institution called Export Finance Norway. That is very interesting when it comes to big projects, because we can also be a financing partner. But we also have the Royal Court, and we have the Research Council, and so on. My experience, I've been the former national tunnel manager in Norway for some years. And this means that I have been responsible for dealing with all clarifications and formal approvals for all road tunnels in Norway. In both early studies, planning, construction, but also in operation. And we must not forget that they also need to have a rehabilitation. And this is also a very important part of this. This means that I have in-depth knowledge about Norway's tunneling industry, but also the Norwegian standards, infrastructure, and traffic management. So Norway, it's kind of the land of fjord crossings and long tunnels. So if we compare ourselves with the rest of Europe, so we have actually passed 70 tunnels that is longer than 4 kilometers. We have more than 40 tunnels that is subsea. So we have some experience with this. And I will tell you something about these projects. At any given time in Norway, we have 50 road tunnels under construction. And at any given time, we have 150 tunnels under planning. So that means that the regulations and our experience is getting better every day. And believe me, we have done all the mistakes that is possible to do. So this means that we have now regulations, procedures to do this the correct way. And this can come to a benefit for the Channel Islands. So this is also very important. So why do we build subsea tunnels? Well, a subsea tunnel in Norway is just an alternative. But it is a very, it is an alternative that is very often chosen. But the alternative is maybe a ferry, a bridge, or a tunnel connection. So what we are looking at here is the feasibility, future traffic prognosis, but also what kind of costs it means. Investment, operation, maintenance, socio-economic impact on society, and sustainability. So for instance, the investment of a subsea tunnel is very often less costly than a bridge solution. But when it comes to the operation of a tunnel, that is a little bit higher. So we need to check this out. But also other reasons is important. In this moment, we are building the world's longest and deepest subsea tunnel in the world. This is 26.5 kilometers long. It's a double tube tunnel. The reason for this is the main route on the west coast of Norway. So this is part of the European road network. So this means that we have to have that kind of standards because it's a very high traffic. And we also are connecting an island in this case. What is interesting about this project is if we close this tunnel, it will take 4 hours to make the diversion around this tunnel. So this means, in this case, we had to solve this within the tunnel. So in this case, we use the other tube to divert the traffic when we are doing maintenance or if we have an accident. So this means that we can have this open at all time. And then we have other examples. So located on the west coast of Norway, we have connected a small community to the mainland. And this is 2,700 people. A district road financed locally and road tax loan from the Norwegian Parliament. The project assumed in yearly daily traffic in the first collection year is 693 vehicles. So this is a very low traffic solution. And if we look at the numbers here, it's 3 subsea tunnels, it's bridges, and a lot of other infrastructure. We built this in 3 years to the price that you see in this slide. And this says something about the how effective we can also work in this project. So the cost efficiency we are bringing to the table is also very important. And this is something probably one of the best reasons to also involve experience from Norway and our competence. What influences cost? In this project, you have some interesting topics because you have to choose between road, rail, and the different kind of transport modes. So that is different kind of alternatives. You also have to look at the traffic condition and capacity issues. This will influence cost. Choice of standard. So if you have a high capacity on this, you have to have a higher standard. Geographic conditions and ground conditions is also a very important part that will influence cost, but also national, regional, and historical development of relevant legislation. So when you are connecting to France, suddenly you have to be aware of that as well. Dealing with risks, safety, and operational issues and mitigating measures is also very important, and how procurement and contract is handled in the investment project. But also how it's handled in the operational phase, so that this will also influence. And I would like to say something about operational phase, because this is something we have learned a lot about lately. So it's very important to set goals and plan for all factors that influence reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety in operation. So this means that you have to think ahead when it comes to when you have to rehabilitate the tunnel after maybe 20 years. If you are not taking this into account and are planning for that in the investment, then you might have a very high cost later on. And this is what we also have implemented in our regulations and how we are working in Norway. Be aware, a part of the cost in the project is to establish an operational scheme which suits the purpose. That means that you have to have a kind of a traffic control central dealing with these tunnels. This is often forgotten. Another cost is to operate the tunnels. It is of great importance to bring in experience for operation and maintenance in an early stage of planning. Which type of transport mode and how will this influence investment cost and operational cost is also another thing. And you are now in a phase where you are looking at something called a concept selection investigation. And when we are looking at this, we are looking at a step-by-step process. And what can be found out in a very early stage about the feasibility in this, and more or less what will this cost. And then you have to do further on studies, and of course, before you start building it, you need to know exactly how much you need to know before you are doing the construction. So we will probably also propose as kind of a step-by-step, so you can actually have some determine something before you are doing too large investments as well. So a concept selection investigation contains of needs analysis, project triggering needs, strategy chapter, overall requirements for the project, assessment of current options you have, alternative analysis, assessment of concept and recommendation, and guidelines for the further planning. And to say something about how we are willing to use tunnels, on the west coast of Norway, we have one very great example. We have a very difficult stretch along the coastline for vessels, boats. And this is relevant also for Guernsey, because you are a ship nation, and you know what we are talking about. And we decided to build a ship tunnel to avoid this dangerous stretch. And this ship tunnel is 1.7 kilometers long, 50 meters high, and 30 meters wide. And this is how normal it is for us to think tunnel. So it's a very good example. And the excavation of that tunnel will be the same as all the excavations in Norway in 1 year.